right, everybody, and welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today we are getting ready for cold, gusty winter weather. Now this is an exterior door that goes from the garage to the house. It does not need as much draft protection, and with these old wooden doors, they are all going to the exterior. I've got a lot more draft going on the outside, but you can see these are the things that we're addressing today because we don't want snow blowing in here and making the door stick. So earlier this summer, I planed all these doors down and they no longer stick, but now it's cold and they've shrunk. You can see I've got some gap here. Every hardware solution, every guy at Home Depot tells me I need just a sticky thing to stick right here. They're not realizing that on these old wooden doors, what tends to be is you've got this door stop trim, just like on the interior of a house. There is no weather sealing. So I'm going through and doing what I can to winterize this house. From the time this house was built, this block was never mortared in. So I've got a little bit of trim work to do here to put a little bit of gap protection, just to make sure that nothing comes gnawing on that trying to get in. But for about 60 years, that block has just been sitting there. At some point, my tenants had moved it. And when I was here a while ago, boy, I found out some little critters had gotten into my garage. So besides weatherproofing the doors, we're going ahead and making sure no critters get in. So with a gap like this at the bottom of the door, there's not really great space for a threshold, and it's tiled right to the step outside of the garage. Now I wanted to make sure that I use good mortar and grout to make sure that tile sticks, but you'd be surprised the bugs or the mice that can fit through a small crack like that. So we picked up some top and side door seal, and this is just an aluminum or steel strip with a rubber gasket, and I'll tell you, there are not a lot of videos out there saying how to put that on this style of a door frame. And everything I kept finding for a door sweep here had a rubber door sweep at the bottom, and it would always scratch my tile that was here. I found one with a brush sweep, and it just simply pushes any dirt out of the way. So this is an area that is not great for a rug because of that. So we always keep a rug on the exterior of the house. This house also has a walk-up attic, and it goes from insulated to uninsulated halfway up. Where the garage meets, this is all open with no insulation there. We've got ceiling insulation and we've got wall insulation, and I've got staircase insulation that we put in at some point also. When I bought this house, there was no insulation here at all, and we're thinking of putting in a cover or a foam piece and boxing in the end so that none of that cold air goes from there to here. In the meantime, I can put one of these door stops right here to block the draft from going in, because when I was tiling this floor a couple weeks ago, it had gotten down to freezing and that cold air just gushed right out of there. So again, I put another door sweep on this door. And a few videos ago, we put a door sweep on this door, and it is doing wonders. We fixed the gasket that was down at the bottom, and every tenant I've ever had has added this cheap foam right here. And I will tell you, the bad thing about this foam, I've left it here, but it gets crushed when you open and close the door. It does fill the gap, but look what it does to the door. So I've tried to get off of that what I can. This door has been repainted about 6 months ago, and that foam just over time keeps sticking to it. And I probably let this door dry for 2 days before I ever closed it with just the screen door locked. So this is a better way to go than putting on that foam and that skinny little strip. A lot of times what will happen is you have to push even harder to make sure that door doesn't stop here and that it gets here into the door latch to lock. Otherwise, your home is not properly protected. We always make sure the doors are locked. These days, there's all kinds of crazy walking around on the streets, and it doesn't matter if I'm at the workhouse or if I'm at home. When I go in and out of a door, I always make sure it's locked behind me. So sometimes you just have to make do with the space you have. I've got an old vanity sitting here, and there's no top on it. But the side rails are giving me just enough of a work surface that I can get this cut with an old hacksaw. And I will tell you, my husband has had this hacksaw since before I've known him. which is well over 20 years. So you just cut the metal with your hacksaw. You can use metal snips. You can even use a multi-tool. I didn't have an electrical outlet right here, and I thought this was the best way to go. So the first thing I want to tell you to do is snip the end off. They put too much of a gasket on the end so that your tape measure lip can sit on a straight end and mark. Now keep in mind that the holes in here for fastening it onto the door frame are spaced evenly, but it's going to be different at one end than on the other from where it came out of the machine at the factory. So don't leave yourself with a bad nailing surface by not having enough of a screw hold at the end. Otherwise, you're going to have to drill a hole out and put another screw in there on your own. So I'm just going to double check this measurement for fit. Now the instructions that come with it suggest that you put your sides up first. I don't mind putting one side up first, but the way it all fits together, I'd rather put the top section up first and then take my measurement from there so that everything fits flushly together. So I've just trimmed off that end, just like here. You can see we've got about 6 inches here on this end for screwing it down, and on this end I've got about 8. So anything I'm going to cut off, I'm going to cut off on this end here to make sure that I get an even screwing or mounting surface. So if you're a household handyman like me, Christmas is coming. You might want to be asking for a tool belt if you don't already have one, because I run out of pockets, I run out of spots to put my tools, and I lose them everywhere. Now you can cut this with a straight edge, or you can miter it to fit together perfectly, however you best prefer. Any trim that you put on here for a weather strip is going to be better than nothing at all, especially on doors with gaps like I have. So we're measuring about 31.5 on my door, so I'm going to put my measure right there. So I wanted to mention that this is not a disposable temporary solution to a draft problem. This is your permanent solution. This kit costs roughly $14 to $15. And the thing that you need to know is to use a ladder and don't just set it there to block the draft. You actually want to compress that rubber strip a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and make sure that door is latched this time. And I've already gone ahead. If you have any painting or trim work that you have to do that in advance. I've already trimmed out my door a few weeks ago. And I'm just going to set this up here like this with the rubber strip facing in towards the door. Okay, so I've already gone ahead and I've pre-drilled my holes here across the top. And this is just like putting in a threshold in the door for a bottom draft. You're just doing it on the outside and going around. Now this has a slight squared or rectangle pilot hole for your screws, and that's to allow for movement back and forth. So you want to get it on there so that you have the ability to compress. So sometimes a good thing to do is to have the door open and set this kind of where you want it and see how it closes. I don't want to over tighten these in case I want to loosen them. The main thing is that we are going to be blocking the draft. But that slight compression is going to give us a good seal. That compression is going to give us a good weather-tight seal. Now, if this were on the outside of the house with no storm door, it would make a much bigger impact in energy savings. But the money that you're going to save from keeping the cold out in one season more than makes up for the cost of a permanent door trim that's going to be a weather-tight seal. the door in installing this, or you're going to have to slam your door shut several times to get it to close right every time. That's not real good for somebody who has to go to work early while everyone else is in bed. Well, I got my door all complete just in time for a big cold blast. I missed that warm day to be able to paint, so on the next warm day, maybe we'll do an extra layer of touch-up paint, but in the meantime, I think I'll just take a Mr. Clean sponge to the door and take care of any scuffs on it. So you can see here how this fits up tight up against the door. If your door does not shut just like that, if you're having to slam it shut, just back this off a little bit and move it out. You don't want to push it too far against. Like I said before, you'll just have to be slamming the door. So this is how it looks all nice and finished. Get out there, get to your home center, and winterize your home. This house is just about winterized. I just have to figure out getting my heat on now. So thanks for watching, everybody. Hit me a like button. Remember to support the channel and hit subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.